science certainly has helped mankind outgrow religion, but as a structured belief system claiming to describe reality, science has surprisingly many similarities to its older sibling Christianity, and almost as many flaws. The Essence of Reality explores how the psyche which you are creates the reality you encounter. Hoopla, you found the essence of reality. We explore consciousness here, the nature of your own existence, how reality actually works. Common notions like religion and science simply don't describe experienced reality, and worse, if you believe in them, they actually hide life's real flow. You create your life's qualities. No God does, no external power source does, you do. If you would like to see just how that works, listen with an open mind and come on back. We have many a topic to look at. This particular issue regards science, the second of two parts that focus on its shortcomings. People view the world not with pristine clarity provided by the senses, but only through distorting lenses of beliefs. Understanding isn't really furthered through vision and learning beyond early childhood. All sensory input and exposure to new ideas that might explain life, that total of encountered information, all of it has to run past your own belief system in order to be accepted. I can explain deep insights here pertaining to your timeless being, your unbounded potentials, your sole ability to drive your life in desired directions, and I can present those visions clearly and rationally. But when you compare my perspectives to other ideas which you already hold as true, even if those notions are far less valid than my viewpoint, you will judge your current ideas, your experts, your beliefs as right and what I say as wrong, unless of course you're open-minded and able to question those beliefs themselves. For example, strong believers in Christianity who classically aren't open-minded won't listen to my critique of their religion or won't be able to hear what I say. I can explain all of the fallacy in the Bible, all of the exaggerations of Jesus' nature, but the faithful won't comprehend any of it. My insights will never get past their present beliefs, their preset ideas, however valid my insights, however flawed those beliefs. So it is with science as well. I can illustrate in depth how science, through its tenets, forms an artificial boundary around what is accepted as true, then pretends that nothing outside that boundary is valid. I can point out that metaphysical functions within reality, highly significant to life, form a clear part of the living experience. But to those fully addicted to science as a determiner of truth, my rational argument, so far as it ventures outside sacrosanct science, is unacceptable. Yet, in significant ways, I'm right and science is wrong. Or, okay, being pleasant and accommodating, let's say incomplete. Tom Nair here, Exploring Consciousness. Insights here add to my website, my books, and hundreds of talks I've given to open-minded groups. From a mystic experience years ago through my long inner journey, I've come to see the oneness of things. You're connected to life events and relationships, not separate and apart as science and religion imply. Aware of that connection, you can improve real life in all ways by finding and changing inner roots to outer issues. I call this clear awareness, bypassing beliefs to clearly see how life works. Many beliefs you need to bypass to see life's functionality are religious, primitive, superstitious, or arcane. For many people, open-minded and curious, religion and archaic myth are easy to see through. Yet the least refutable in many modern eyes is therefore the most difficult to bypass: science. But to exceed the limitations of science, you must first be able to question it. Question it as a paradigm for explaining life. Minds can be just as closed around science as many are around religion. Indeed, I've always found it amusing that the most fervent skeptics are skeptical of everything except science. Science and its empirical technique were launched in the 17th century. Slowly through subsequent centuries, science gained a high status in Western thinking. While it began very much as a rebellious approach to the excesses of religious authority in early European thinking, in time science has taken on surprisingly many of Christianity's characteristics. Christianity, like the aloof, self-proclaimed Middle Eastern religions it grew out of, has always maintained control over people. That has served to keep the ignorant masses lined up to donate money, prop up the controlling priesthoods that live off Christian conjecture, and further the organizations that bandy about phony Christian values. Science has maintained similar roles. Christian clergymen always wear special spiritual-looking robes, work out of large impressive buildings, zealously keep their defined truths cryptic and specialized. Scientists, medical workers and technicians mostly wear lab coats. They work in big impressive buildings and zealously keep their defined truths cryptic and specialized. Christianity, organizationally, constitutes a closed society of exclusive insiders. It's academically prepared priesthood. Outsiders can only join by going through rigid indoctrination and specialized education. Trained Christian functionaries all come out thinking the same way. Science also consists of a closed society of exclusive insiders. It's academically prepared experts. Outsiders can only join by going through rigid indoctrination and specialized education. Trained scientific functionaries all come out thinking the same way. Christianity vigorously disregards any criticism of its tenets, any ideas beyond its own doctrine. Science, it vigorously disregards any ideas beyond its own synthetic boundaries of what is valid. You would never, ever get an article published in a Christian publication that was critical of religion and its core ideas, nor would any scientific publication ever feature an article that critiques the scientific procedure as unsound. Science is a closed shop, just like religion, lots of parallels. What does set science apart from religion is usefulness. Exploring details of the material world is enormously more useful than propagating baseless claims about deities who don't really exist and how to appease them. Without science breaking away from Christianity's grip on common thinking, we'd still be living life like we did in the year 1500, in primitive repressive states. We would still be relying on horses for power, kings for clemency, and the Catholic Church for dictatorial guidance. None of those is a very soothing prospect. But science has many shortcomings. Let's look at three specifics. First are fudge factors. Anybody who studied science in college laboratories knows that data can be fudged to get the results you want, like A's in college grades, financial stipends in later life. A great deal of scientific data is doctored by scientists to justify funding or secure more of it. Even conclusions derived from data can be skewed, consciously or unconsciously, to support favored theories. Good old fudge factors. Where would science be without them? As second huge detriment of science is lack of value judgment in pursuing ill-advised things just because they are possible. Medical science facilitated a woman's insemination to become pregnant with 8 fetuses. In a world overflowing with 7 billion people, for a woman who couldn't even support the kids she already had, science showed its overwhelming lack of wisdom to even facilitate such a venture. Lack of value judgment is an invariable outcome of a paradigm that only looks at things, the material world. Science is fully incapacitated when it comes to deciding if some course of action is beneficial to mankind. Science has thus facilitated nuclear weapons, has allowed genetic engineering of natural plant life, has provided means to clone life forms, but it has no means to judge whether any of those and dozens more supposed advancements are beneficial to mankind or not. Often they are highly beneficial to individuals, investors and corporations, so they may be implemented despite environmental or societal consequences. Think about seafloor oil drilling and deep well fracking for gas, mountaintop removal for coal, development of microbeads of plastic, and a plethora of pesticides that devastate bees and other animals. And of course, that good old genetic modifications to life forms. Are any of these in mankind's overall interest in maintaining a livable planet indefinitely? No, but they are scientifically, that is, technologically feasible. So in the mind of science, they're okay. Add to that how financial incentives involved in scientific advancement can skew political systems with new levels of corruption. The people who profit from drilling, fracking, and pesticides can and do purchase politicians who allow them to continue. That segues into science's major illusory justification that it is or can be used to improve life. Science does not inherently improve life, however much it claims to or appears to. Here's what I mean. Medical science has learned to patch over failing bodies, deal with extreme physical malfunctions when they occur, prolonging life, allowing humans to drag on despite enormous degradation of life quality, and it calls that accomplishment. A friend of mine, a retired surgeon himself, had pointy nodules growing on the back of his throat. The medical solution to that was to poke a hole in his stomach so he had to be fed prefabricated slop for the rest of his miserable life. Speech was difficult, and any pleasure of eating and drinking removed. That outcome is pure medical science. Deal with the physical issue regardless of consequences to life quality. Psychology faces similar limitations. As a science, psychology limits its understanding to data gathered objectively by observation, secondhand views, not personal involvement where the psyche and its subconscious can be experienced directly, deeply. As a result, psychology helps people to accommodate life's issues, deal with them, and cope as needed. If that doesn't work, psychiatry will intervene with powerful drugs to hammer the psyche into compliance. But from the standpoint of the essence of reality, the psyche and outer experience are connected. Only bypassing the scientific method which separates self from reality can you recognize that innate inner-outer connection. Problems encountered in real life stem from within and can be eliminated, not simply coped with. Psychology, like science in all of its overt ventures, patches over real problems. It never really fixes them at the source. It mistakes triggers for causes and never delves beneath the illusory surface of life. Overall, coming to see one's innate nature as a conscious self, engaging a reality that reflects one's own nature, that's the goal. Science might clarify details of that outer nature, but it can't reveal to you the connection because it can't, by virtue of its paradigm, regard your consciousness, your intangible, unbounded conscious self as valid. So science does have some merit, but its core restriction, only peering outward for causality, never inward, compromises any innate value to science. Becoming aware, you personally, of life's inner-outer oneness requires a release of science as a core truth. Like religion, you can't carry science with you into enlightenment. Lots more to look at. See you later, People view the world not with pristine clarity provided by the senses, but only through distorting lenses of beliefs. I can illustrate metaphysical functions within reality, highly significant to life, but to those fully addicted to science as a determiner of truth, my rational argument is unacceptable. Yet, in significant ways, I'm right and science is wrong. To exceed the limitations of science, you must first be able to question it. Question it as a paradigm for explaining life. Minds can be just as closed around science as many are around religion. Christianity, organizationally, constitutes a closed society of exclusive insiders. It's academically prepared priesthood. Science also consists of a closed society of exclusive insiders. It's academically prepared experts. Christianity vigorously disregards any criticism of its tenets, any ideas beyond its own doctrine. Science? It vigorously disregards any ideas beyond its own synthetic boundaries of what is valid. Science is a closed shop, just like religion. Lots of parallels. What does set science apart from religion is usefulness. But science has many shortcomings. Fudge factors. Conclusions derived from data can be skewed to support favored theories. A second huge detriment of science is lack of value judgment in pursuing ill-advised things just because they're possible. The science's major illusory justification that it is or can be used to improve life. Science does not inherently improve life, however much it claims to or appears to. The psyche and outer experience are connected. Only bypassing the scientific method which separates self from reality can you recognize that innate inner-outer connection. Like religion, you can't carry science with you into enlightenment.